Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Bunker RDA by Asmodus. This product was sent to me for the purpose of this review. Let's go ahead, open it up, and see what it contains. Inside your package, you're going to have an Asmodus specifications manual for the Bunker RDA. You're also going to get an Asmodus accessory bag here. Inside the accessory bag, you're going to get spare O-rings, spare grub screws, as well as a squonk pin, and Asmodus Oni coils, which they have here are triple fused 0.2 ohms each. They're 26 gauge wrapped in 38 gauge. You're also going to get two different size Allen keys. You're going to get one for the grub screws and one for your 510 pin. And lastly, you're going to have a spare glass section for the inside of your Bunker RDA, and then you have your Bunker RDA. So one of the unique features of this RDA is that they include a glass window for you, and the glass is both removable and replaceable. And if you are worried about breaking that glass, you can see here that the glass does sit inside this metal housing, has about a 1.5 millimeter clearance from the outside there, and then there is your glass. So hopefully that's going to protect you from, if you do happen to drop it, the glass is still protected by that nice little clearance there between the metal and the glass. You would probably have to drop it right there on the glass to break that glass. And it also has O-rings on the inside of the glass holding the glass inside, so that acts as a shock absorber, as well as making it easy for you to remove your glass to clean the device. So the Bunker RDA is a 24.5 millimeter diameter RDA. Here you can see at the bottom we do have our 510 there. It looks like the 510 is a squonk pin pre-installed. So I'm going to go ahead and say correction on the squonk on the pin inside the package. The pin in the package is actually your regular studded 510, and the one pre-installed is going to be your squonking pin. The RDA comes with a Delrin 810 drip tip, and if we remove that, you can see that the O-rings are on the stem and not on the inner side. So when you use other 810 drip tips, make sure that they are ones that have the O-rings on the stem of the drip tip. So as you can see, you have two very large Cylon style airflow slots on either side. The barrel is a locking barrel, which means you'll be able to remove it from a base by turning it and it's stopping. So here is the airflow completely closed, and if I keep turning, it'll unlock the RDA from the base. And then when I'm screwing it down onto the base, once the threads have met the base, it'll go ahead and adjust the airflow. So you have your airflow adjustment there on a stopper, and whatever you do to one side, it will do to the other. And then if we keep turning, it completely closes the airflow off and then releases the device from the base. So removing the top cap here, you can see on the inner portion. Not sure if my camera will pick it up for you there, but there's the glass on the inside, which is removable. As you can see, there is a seam here at the top, and that's because this top section here does remove. It is threaded, so we'll go ahead and unscrew that top section, and there now you can see access to your glass. So if you wanted, you could stick your finger in here and remove the glass. So there's your little glass piece, and as you can see, there are O-rings down there for the glass to sit on. And go ahead and replace the glass and replace this top section. So really easy, nice, simple way for you to both remove your glass and clean it, or if something happens and the glass breaks, you're able to replace the glass easily without worrying about having to cut yourself or anything because of that space there coming off. So the build deck is all 24 karat gold plated. Now this build deck, if you've seen this build deck before, it is because they are using their C4 build deck, which is a previous RDA that they came out with. In the center here, you'll see this raised squonk pin. There's a hole on either side of that pin, and what that does is feed e-liquid to either side of the juice well there. So the juice well is pretty deep. You can see it comes all the way up to the side there, and then the airflow is actually built into the post. So you have one post on this side and a post on the other side. You have your positive post here and your negative post here. So you'll unscrew this, and that will open up this little area here for you to trap your lead between the screw and the post there. And the same thing on this side. So if you look at the airflow from the inside, if I can show you that, you will see that it's angled at an upward slant. And the reason for that is they say that it's to mimic bottom airflow. So your airflow comes in from here on the bottom and then comes up through the channel here built into this post and out towards your coil. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and put a build in it. If you're not a big fan of Allen grub screws, I am sorry to disappoint you, but both the grub screws in the deck and the spare grub screws are Allen key screws. So you can go ahead and use the Allen key included, or if you're like me and you have your own Allen screwdrivers, you can go ahead and use a precision hex driver like I have here. I like precision hex drivers just because I find that they never slip, they never strip, and they just really get a good bite on hex keys. So go ahead and unscrew those grub screws. There we go. And now we're ready to grab a coil. And since Asmodus included coils, I am going to go ahead and use their Oni coils. I'm going to be using one of their triple fused coils. It should ohm out to a 0.2. Let's go ahead and grab one of those. And something Asmodus did that I really like is they actually went ahead and wrapped their coil in the correct lead direction as needed for the atomizer. So that's really awesome of them that they did that. A lot of RDAs that you'll get or RTAs that you'll get will come with coils, but the leads will not be facing in the direction needed for the atomizer. So I'm really happy to see that they went ahead and wrapped these with the leads facing in opposite directions. It just makes my life so much easier. I'm just going to go ahead and grab my little coiling tool here and slide it in. It is quite a tight fit, so I'm going to go ahead and size down my coiling tool. Actually, I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just going to grab one of my little Coil Master Phillips head screwdrivers and slide it in there. So now I can go ahead and place one lead on that side and one lead on that. Center it. And I gotta say, so far it's looking really simple. So I'm just gonna hold my leads and I'm gonna press my leads up against the wall there to keep the leads from sliding out, hopefully. And gently tighten it down. Now I'm not gonna tighten it all the way down. I'm just gonna snug it up on either side first. Take a look at it. Make sure I'm happy with the placement, and then I'll go ahead and tighten those grub screws all the way down. There we go. So I'm tightened all the way down. Now I can go ahead and clip my leads. And I'm going to go in there and try to clip them as flush as possible. Alright, there we go. So we have our coil installed. Now that coil is a little high for my liking. I think I'm going to try to push it down just a little bit. Even though that airflow is angled up from the bottom, I want to go ahead and push my coil down just a little bit. There we go. So I went ahead and pushed that coil down just a little bit, basically so the top of my coil is even with the top height of that post. So the post is on a slant, as you can see, and I just went ahead and made sure that my coil is even there with the top of the tallest point on the post. Okay, so I've pulsed my coil and I've got it glowing nice and evenly, and it's ohming out to a 0.11, which is quite low considering that the baggie that the coils were included on said that these should be a 0.2 ohm each. So this is ohming out an entire 0.10 ohm lower than what the bag recommends. So definitely couldn't use this in dual coil configuration since it is ohming out at a 0.1. I will go ahead and check this build on a different mod. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my leads are nice and tight. Everything's snugged up. Make sure the atomizer is completely screwed down. And it is still ohming out at a 0.11. So there we go. Go ahead and pulse that one more time. Now let's let it cool down and we'll go ahead and wick it up. So I'm just wicking up that coil nice and tightly here. And to cut the wicks, I don't really need long wicks because the coil doesn't sit up very far from the deck. So I can go ahead and cut those wicks pretty short. And then just tuck them right down there in those side walls, just to where it rests on the bottom of the deck. And since the airflow is coming in from those side walls of the posts, I can go ahead and just drip right down the center and saturate my coil, no problem there. Go ahead and give it a little pulse to get it wicking. And I do have this put on a squonk mod, so I can go ahead and squonk it as well. So let's see what it looks like when you squonk it. So you can see the e-liquid coming from either side. Now I do want to be careful because once I get to that airflow hole, it is at an angle upward. So since it's angled upward, the moment e-liquid gets into that air channel, gravity is going to take over and e-liquid is going to run down that slope and straight out my airflow holes. So I do want to be careful about when I'm squonking it, not to let it sit up there above that airflow for too long. Like just a quick squonk, and there you can see it's wicking up nicely. Let's go ahead and put our top cap on. Now it is a locking top cap, so when you slide it down on, you're going to give it a little turn until you feel it click down into place, and then you can open your airflow. So there's my airflow on that side and my airflow on that side. So I did just squonk this, and as you can see, those airflow channels are completely dry. There's no e-liquid in them. So I do want to note that this is not the drip tip that was included. Unfortunately, during the unboxing portion of this, the drip tip went flying off of my desk and I have no idea where it is. I can't find the drip tip. So I had to put this much taller, less aesthetically pleasing looking drip tip on top for now, and I'll try to find that other drip tip for when we go back up top. So that is the Bunker RDA by Asmodus. Let's go back up top, have a vape on it, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. Okay, and that was an up-close look at the Bunker RDA by Asmodus. So what are my thoughts? Well, we'll start with the pros like we always do. So pros on this are going to be the fit and finish. Everything on this is really nice. The paint is really nice. No machining issues whatsoever with this RDA. Now, I will say a little thing about the finish is that the base is 24 karat gold plated, while the top cap, of course, is going to be in the color of your choice. So if you choose any other color aside from gold, you will notice that you always have a gold band down there at the bottom, and that's because of the way the deck is constructed. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. Next pro on this is going to be the build deck and the ease it is to build on it. So Asmodus did say on their packaging and in their manual that they are taking this they did take this build deck from the C4 RDA, which they had designed previously. So the Bunker RDA has the same build deck as the C4, and I gotta say, I never saw the C4 or used it, but I really do like this build deck. It's very simple to build on and really easy to wick as well. Now, talking about the top cap and stuff, this is bottom airflow, so I will say that as far as squonking and dripping on it, it is a bottom airflow RDA, and you do got to be a little careful and cautious with how much e-liquid you put in there. Otherwise, you can get leaking out of the airflow, especially with the angle in which the airflow is designed. Now, as far as the smoothness of the vape, I have no issues with any turbulence. I do feel like it could be a little bit smoother, but that could absolutely be due to my coil position. But let me go ahead and fire it fully open for you so you can hear the airflow. Really good flavor on this RDA. I must say, even with it wide open, I get a lot of flavor from a single coil, which is really great. Now let's go ahead and cut it to about halfway down. And I'll let you listen at it halfway open. Really nice. Starts to put a little bit of restriction in there. With it wide open, I don't really feel a whole lot of restriction. It is single coil. I do find that depending on the coil position is going to be how turbulent it is. Again, I think some of the turbulence that I'm feeling in there is probably my coil position, but I must say halfway open is where I like to rock it because it gives me a nice restrictive direct lung vape, and that flavor is just popping on it. Now, talking about the airflow and the way that it's done, part of the way that the airflow is done is that it has a locking cap. So the barrel on here does lock, so when you spin it all the way to the stopping point, it's wide open, and then when you spin it the other way, it stops when it's all the way closed. I really like that. Being that it's a bottom airflow RDA, I can completely close off my airflow, and then if I stick it in my purse, I don't have to worry about e-liquid coming out those airflow holes if it happens to tip side to side in my purse. And I would say the same for your pocket. I would close that airflow off. So I really like that the top cap is locking, because that makes it super easy for me to get off of my mod, as well as it means I can go ahead and shut my airflow off. Now, shutting the airflow off completely, there is one tiny little hole there where you can start to see the airflow, but again, it's closed off so much that it does definitely cut down on the risk of leaking when it's in your pocket. Just know though, when you open it up, if you have tilted it to the side and there's e-liquid in there, you are going to have some e-liquid puddled up in the airflow channel there. So what else do I have to say about this? Oh, well, I did lose the drip tip to this. I don't have the original drip tip on this one. Now, I did have another one that they sent me, and that one does have its original drip tip. But I did find a TFV8 style drip tip with the O-rings on the stem that fit in here, and I've really been enjoying it, honestly. I mean, I couldn't tell you with the original drip tip whether or not it changed the vape a whole lot. This does have a very similar bore size. The only difference is that it's a bit taller, and I actually like it that way. I like my drip tips a little bit taller, and I'll probably try to find some other ones. The only thing I wish is that the opening for the drip tip was goon style. I wish they would have put an O-ring on the inner side of the top cap rather than relying on O-rings on the stem of the drip tip, because I personally find that I have way more goon style drip tips than I do these smoke like baby beast type tank drip tips. Next pro on this, it actually surprised me a bit, and that's the glass tank here. And it's not so much that I really like the glass tank per se, because honestly the glass tank, it just fogs up and clouds up and gets all kinds of condensation. So when you're vaping on it, you can't really see in there very well what your cotton and your coils look like, but you do get a little bit of idea. But more so, what I like about the incorporation of the glass tank in here is how they incorporate it. They made sure that there was a way for you to remove the glass so that you can change or clean it, and if you do happen to break the glass, they included a spare glass. And speaking of accessories, also I'm really impressed with their coils. I love that the coils they included in the baggie were wrapped in the correct orientation for the build deck. That was a huge pro for me. So I really gotta say, there's a lot of pros to this Bunker RDA, and if this is something that you think you would like and be interested in, I would go for it. The flavor on it is really good, and the vapor production airflow is really good. As far as cons for it, I kind of already mentioned them, and they're really subjective cons, and that is just that the deck is gold plated and you're always going to see that gold plating there at the bottom on the ring. And the other con, again, I mentioned already, and that's the drip tip. I just wish it would have been a goon style with the O-ring on the inside of the top of the barrel instead of on the drip tip. So that's my thoughts on the Bunker RDA by Asmodus. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, click that subscribe button. If you are, click the little bell icon so you get notified the next time I upload a video. And don't go just yet. Yes, I'm going to be giving away a Bunker RDA. Now, the giveaway is going to be hosted on my website, kimmyvapes.net. You'll go on over there, follow the directions for the giveaway, and you can enter to win your very own Bunker RDA. Thanks again, you guys, for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.